Marcus had fought 31 professional bouts, won 24, lost 7. He retired at 38, not because he had to, but because he looked in the mirror one morning after training and understood something that took him a long time to find words for. He had already won what he came for. He came back to the neighborhood he grew up in. Same streets, different kids, making the same mistakes he had made at 12, at 14, at 16, because nobody had given them anywhere better to put all that energy. He bought the old hardware store on the corner of 5th and Jefferson and started knocking down walls.
He had spent nearly everything on the building. What was left, he put into the floors. He sanded them himself on his hands and knees for 3 days straight. The same hands that had landed over 2,000 punches in professional competition, now pushing a sanding block across old pine boards in the November cold. He painted the walls himself, red and gold. The ring came from a gym closing down in the next city. He drove 6 hours to get it, loaded it into a borrowed truck, drove 6 hours back. His old trainer sent 2 heavy bags and a note that said, "You were always better at this than fighting." Nobody else thought it would work. He opened on a Saturday morning. 3 kids showed up. He shook each of their hands like they were adults. 3 became 12 by the end of the first month. Marcus had one rule, and he told it to every kid on their first day. Nobody gets turned away. Not for money, not for anything. He meant it. He taught them to wrap their hands before he taught them to punch. He made them understand the purpose of the wrap, that you protect yourself first, not because you're afraid, but because you have to still be there at the end of the round. He taught them to breathe before they hit, to think before they moved. He told them 100 times in 100 different ways that everything in the ring is a decision, and everything outside it is a decision too. The gym was never really about boxing. The kids knew it, he knew it. Nobody said it out loud, because they didn't need to. Within 2 years, something shifted on that street. Not dramatically, not in a way that made anyone stand back and notice all at once. More like the way a room gradually gets warmer. So slowly you don't feel it happening until you realize you've taken off your coat. The kids who came to the gym started staying in school. Not all of them. Not all the time, but more than before. Marcus never talked about it. He just kept opening at 6 every single morning. A local journalist came, wrote a piece, took his photo in front of the ring, asked him what he thought he was doing for the neighborhood. Marcus thought about it. "I just gave them somewhere to put their energy," he said. "That wasn't the wrong place." That was the only quote he gave. Her name was Diane. She ran the elementary school across the street. For 2 years, they had nodded at each other through windows, waved once in the rain, exchanged exactly 3 sentences over 24 months, all of them about the weather. Then, one evening in March, she walked into the gym and asked him if he'd come and talk to her students about discipline, about making good decisions when it's hard. He said yes before she finished the sentence. He talked for 45 minutes. The kids asked questions for 20 minutes after that. When the last student filed out, Diane was still there, standing near the door with her jacket half on. Marcus looked at her. "You want to stay and talk?" he said. She stayed for 2 hours. The gym was his second chance at a life that made sense. She was his third. And he had learned, after 31 fights and a lifetime of getting back up, that you don't turn down a third chance when it walks through your door. Here is what Marcus's story means. The thing you were built for is not always the thing that made you famous. Sometimes the ring was just practice for the real fight, which is quieter and harder and more important than anything the crowd ever watched.